Hi. Okay, I'd like to make a video about tarot in general. Can we make sense of the cards? Uh, and can we always rely on the cards? Because many people out there may think tarot is magic, but really, magic is just obscure knowledge. Okay. Um, so the people that designed the cards over the years and came up with it, they didn't have magic wands or something like you would see in a magic movie that has wizards and so on. Uh, so the tarot isn't magic, it is knowledge and years of study and studying the subconscious mind, studying the world. So why do tarot cards work and when do they not work? Okay, so I'd like to say the tarot, when we think about it, we think it's predicting the future. But really, it's really just drawing from the past and present to show probabilities for the future. And you may have heard the saying, the future is not set in stone. And there's another wise saying of Sun Tzu, from the Art of War. Sometimes the best way to win a battle is not to be there. So, in fact, I think when you do the tarot and work with the tarot, I think it is actually good when negative cards come up, because mostly we don't go to a tarot reader to hear good news. We go to a tarot reader because mostly we already have a problem. So we already know that we're kind of stuck. And the problem, the purpose of getting a tarot reading is to get unstuck or avoid the obstacles. So obviously, the cards are going to show your obstacles. And when we get to, say you do a Celtic cross, and you get to the sixth card, the card on the right of the cards that are laid out on the left, the future card, you shouldn't see it as I'm doomed. Say for example you get the Ten of Swords or death or the Tower. Don't assume, well, now I'm doomed, now I can't do anything about it. And I have a client, she comes to me regularly with her problems, and I've always had difficulty with this client to make her understand the tarot is not there to tell you what's gonna happen in the sense of now you're stuck, even more stuck and even more doomed. The tarot is there to liberate you and give you ideas. So when does the tarot not work? I think above all, before we pick up a deck of tarot cards, we should exhaust all other methods of obtaining knowledge. I mean, the internet is there, and if you have a question about what job should I do, go and see what's out there instead of asking the tarot, right? And always use your common sense. Don't jump to the tarot every time you have a small question, because then you live a life of cards. The tarot is there now, unless you're a practitioner yourself. Obviously you need to practice and you can ask as many questions as you like, but if you are on the receiving end of getting readings, make sure you always investigate for yourself and so on. The tarot is powerful, and the pictures on the card and the knowledge we have about the cards help us think. And I hope to make a video in the future why the tarot works. Okay, because there must be, if you pick a card, like I've been making these videos, and the same cards come up for different topics but relating to the same questions and ideas, that must mean something. But why is it like that? And I've been watching videos on the internet about probability theory, and I'm afraid I've got a long way to go, but I imagine what makes the tarot work is more scientific than magical. And when you think about it, what is magic and what is science? Right. Science isn't the universe. It studies the universe, firstly. Likewise with magic. Magic isn't the universe. It studies the universe. So perhaps they have something in common. Because in ancient times, science was magic. Because people didn't know any better. So you have to seriously sit down and ask yourself, what are my ideas about magic? Because either everything is science or everything is magic, or perhaps I think Einstein said you can live your life only two ways. Either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. So that's deep words. Those are deep words, and I think we really should listen to Einstein, because science is a tool man uses to understand the universe better and to manipulate it. And I don't think magic stands on its own. I don't think anything supernatural stands apart from the universe or is unstudiable by science. Granted, science hasn't reached the point where it understands everything supernatural, but I think if you're very fair and sit down and think about it, everything has to be science. Okay? So the tarot cards probably work because it's bound to scientific laws, universal laws that connect us and our environment, and the cards are also part of our environment. And I would love to actually speak to an open-minded scientist or scientists about the cards and just get a general idea from them what they think about it. But what gives the tarot power is not the tarot, it's you. Your ability to read the cards, and it's not so difficult. You need to just look at the card and find the story in the picture. Know enough about the card to not abuse the card with a story that takes you so far off topic of the actual meaning of the card that you're basically raping the whole idea about what the card's all about. But it's narrative. It's the ability to see a story in the picture. This is where the word divine comes from, and there's an interesting poem by Edgar Allan Poe And there's a phrase in this very long sonnet of 10 minutes. Poem of 10 minutes. This has sat engaged in guessing, and no syllable expressing. But he said in some place he was divining the situation, and that means to think about it. To think about the card. This is what it means. When you divine, you look at the card or the spread you've got before you. The power is in you, although there is knowledge in the cards and people with knowledge have designed the cards. It's up to you to interpret the cards. And don't grab a book. I think it would be a mistake to own volumes and volumes of books on tarot cards, because you can't apply, and this is what my master also said, you can't apply and superimpose a meaning, because each question the questioner brings you is different. So how to read cards? You use your imagination and see where the imagery on the card takes you. And yes, some cards have less imagery. That's why you need to learn the basic things about cards. If you get a queen, people dread court cards. But ask yourself, what's the purpose of a queen? What does it mean when somebody holds something in the left hand or in the right hand? What does it mean if the person isn't facing me? So, tarot cards work for two reasons. They were designed by people who had knowledge about how to go about it. But it mainly works because of you. Apart from the reason why the cards fall, or why you deal the cards and why they can come up, there are definitely, I think, scientific reasons for why specific cards come up, and it's not just chance. Remember, we said there is no such thing as randomness, because the same laws that govern us and the trees, I don't want to sound cheesy, and the universe in general is also connected with the cards, and somebody knew how things connect, and they set up the cards accordingly. So just remember, when you're a tarot reader and somebody comes to you, you don't tell them, I'm going to tell you your future and there's nothing you can do about it. Because a good tarot reader doesn't tell the future or the present or the past. They find ways to help the questioner out of their problem. Okay, that's my video on the subject matter. If you have comments and questions, please leave them below. And yes, if you have any other questions, you can email me at whitedragon@gmail.com with an extra W in the beginning and an extra N at the end. I will put up the email address in the credits. Okay, thank you. Cheers.